Hello, hello, hello. I hope everybody had a great day. We got a good live stream coming up. As people are coming in, I just want to set the stage for what to expect and the topics that we're going to be covering. As you guys see on the screen in front of you, this story is near to my community. It is in St. Petersburg, Florida. As some of you know, I reside in Tampa, Florida. So when I was watching the local news today, this story popped up, and one of the, besides the obvious sadness that you feel when you see stories like this, the idea and the mainstream narrative that's pushed, that smaller news stations don't push, is the whole whiteness narrative. If you guys think about the work by The Root is a black magazine publication, and they really had the audacity to say whiteness is a pandemic. As this story right here that I'm going to jump into unfolded, I thought about that statement about whiteness being a pandemic, and a few things popped in my head, but one of them being, how does whiteness account for this? If all of these people are going to run all the way and say whiteness causes everything, how did whiteness cause this tragedy in St. Pete, Florida? And quick aside, for everybody who wants to focus on Chicago, Illinois, I want to bring your attention to St. Pete, because St. Petersburg, Florida is just a smaller piece to a larger problem when it comes to gun violence in black and brown communities, as the Democratic woke people would say it, black and brown, as if communities are designated by skin color. And that's the best way to describe them. Nonetheless, that is going to be the story that we're going to start off with. Secondly, we could talk about AOC being triggered and just her lying, just her utter, she's really just not a good person, and she's a liar. And she's in the business of politics, but she's really good at over the top theatrics for her crowd. Because as far as I'm concerned, her theatrics and her words talking about insurgents and this and that is just a play to really just appease her far left supporters. So we're going to talk about AOC. As you guys are coming in, make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Make sure you drop a comment so I see who's in here. We could go ahead and do a Derek Chauvin trial update, and just a reminder on what the heck the charges are in the first place. And I want to also focus on the media spin, because obviously the media spins everything. All right, we're going to look at a spin that the media is using, and that in particularly being, they're focusing on George Floyd's death as a cause of a misdemeanor offense. And they're trying to focus on, oh, the cops did all this over a misdemeanor. No, that's not the story. That's not how we should frame this, because there is a totality to the story that this news outlet that I'm going to share with you is misleading its viewers. We're going to expose that. And then lastly, our fourth and final topic of the night is going to be a New Jersey professor fighting back. And I love this story, and I hope he wins. If he's right. If he's wrong, then you know what? I hope I hope the truth comes out. Because at the end of the day, I'm not on his side or another person's side. I want what's right to prevail. So if this professor at this New Jersey college is right about the college discriminating against him and choosing to better employ colored people instead of him, then I hope he gets a settlement with discrimination. With all that said, those are our four topics for tonight. As people are coming in, I just want to let you guys know, join the journey to 1,000 subs, like, comment, share. All right, we're currently almost there. The channel started from nothing, and we are 940 in, give or take a couple people leaving and coming every day. So you know what? The ride is amazing. Remember, I am on Patreon. So if you want to be a monthly giver on Patreon, you could find me on Patreon. I'm also on PayPal, Cash App, all that good stuff. If you want to support the channel, If you like the content, make sure you guys consider, doing what's in your heart. With that said, for my people who are in, make sure you drop a comment so I can see who's in as we go through the stories. After I get done with the stories, I will stop and look at comments and respond to some comments, because something that I want to do is just a play that I see other really good YouTubers doing, which is when they do their live streams. They do the live stream in its entirety, and then they cut up the live stream into smaller segments that's more digestible. So I plan on doing that. So make sure you guys drop comments so that at the end of each segment, I could read some comments, maybe give some commentary on your question, or answers to your questions, or we could just have a genuine dialogue. Whichever way it goes down, it goes down. With that said, welcome everybody. I hope you guys had a great day. Happy Wednesday. Hope you guys made the most out of your opportunities. And I hope that God has blessed you through this day. I want to focus on this story right here. Let's go ahead and jump in. St. Pete leaders seek change after 2 killed in a single day. Now, the reason why I want to focus on this is because there is so much talk about whiteness being a pandemic, white supremacy being the problem. You are going to see in this story that white people don't have nothing to do with the turmoil in this community in St. Petersburg, Florida. And I want to bring your attention that this city in Florida is just a small microcosm of bigger problems like Chicago. We are all aware of the gun violence in Chicago, Illinois. We are all aware that gangs and violence are running rampant. In a smaller respect, St. Pete, Florida has that same problem, which I'm going to show you, which has city council people starting to wake up and saying, what the hell are we doing? We got to stop this. All right. And just very prominent people in the community speaking out. But as we said, St. Pete leaders seek to change after 2 killed in a single day. So this young lady right here, Kamaya Simmons, 21, was shot while holding her 1-year-old daughter Tuesday. Police said she was the target of the shooting. Now, I watched this in my local news, which is why I came across it. If I wasn't bringing this out to the public, to the greater public, this story would not be in the rotation. This story would not even, it would hit the Tampa, St. Pete, Bradenton, Clearwater, Polk County, all these counties. It would hit our area, but it would really get overlooked. So I wanted to show you guys just how much violence is normal in St. Petersburg, Florida. So detectives are working to solve the 12th homicide in the city of St. Pete in this year. City leaders gathered on Wednesday to call on the community to stop the violence. All right. And I'm going to play some clips by Police Chief Anthony Holloway. So the St. Pete Police Chief Anthony Holloway, and his words are extremely convicting because he doesn't make any excuses to anybody else. This is our problem. All right. Some of the things he says is the victims of these 12 homicides are all African American, Holloway said. 11 were killed by gunshot. Every one of the suspects are African American. As an African American man, so Anthony Holloway is an African American man, this pains me. All right. So moving on a little bit. So the story brought to us, all right, by one of our news anchors, Georgia Roman. But here is a story. Here's the pictures of the young woman who was shot and killed on the side of the road while she was holding her 1-year-old daughter. So her life is over. And I want to really focus on Police Chief Anthony Holloway because he cuts to the chase. He keeps it real. Like, this is, everybody wants to talk about whiteness, white supremacy, all this oppression, blah, blah, blah. It's really a conspiracy theory when you think about it. If you really think the United States of America is holding you back, you believe in a conspiracy theory. All right. Listen to the chief police of St. Petersburg, Florida. Just give it to people straight.
We as a community need to stop these senseless killings. The victims of these 12 homicides are all African Americans. 11 were killed by gunshot. Every one of the suspects are African Americans. As an African American, this pains me. We are hurting as a community. Many lives are being affected. The lives of the victims, the lives of the families, and the lives of the suspects' families. We as a community.
So as you guys can see, he's not cutting any corners. He's not blaming anyone. He is just going in exactly what it is. In this in this other clip, he talks about how we got to fix the problem. Our young men, our young boys, the way that they think about solving problems is gun violence. And it's a little bit of a mystery as to how do we stop this. When you think about one of the main culprits of the problem is these boys and young men don't have men in their lives to show them any different. So all they know is the street life. All they know is the thug life. All they know is if I get into a situation that I don't like enough, I'm going to pull this trigger.
The biggest thing that we see right now, we got some great programs out there, but how do we get these young men to put these guns down and have a conversation instead of shooting their way out of an argument or a disagreement?
So I mean that right there is so, to me, that is so powerful. And it speaks directly to the problem. He's asking the right question. How do we get our young men to put the guns down and to not shoot themselves out of every situation? That is the questions we should be asking. We should not be talking about whiteness, white privilege, conspiracy theory, all of these things. We should be talking about the actual things holding back communities of color. And in this neighborhood, in St. Pete, all right, this is a big problem. Gun violence is killing young Black residents of Florida every single day, every week. Things are happening. And it has to do with a lack of, honestly, a lack of vision for one's life. That is something that's missing, and a breakdown of the family. So listen to him again, because this is golden. Everybody who wants to talk about white privilege and all this other stuff I keep alluding to, listen, because this man is speaking truth. We have to get these kids out of the mindset of shooting themselves out of every situation.
The biggest thing that we see right now, we got some great programs out there, but how do we get these young men to put these guns down and have a conversation instead of shooting their way out of an argument or a disagreement? That's
Wow. So, yes, he's asking all the right questions. His heart is in the right place. He's not blaming anybody else. He's not taking a page out of the Roots publication. Oh, this is all because of whiteness. Oh, well, all this stuff that happened. Oh, slavery. This is a product of slavery. What happened to this young woman is a product of gang and gun violence. It is a product of lawlessness that is within that community. It has nothing to do with anything else. So, moving on with the article, two of the homicides occurred on March 30th. So yesterday, two homicides happened. First, 19-year-old DeQuaz Davis was shot and killed on Fargo Street South. Two suspects have been arrested. A few hours later, 21-year-old Kamaya Simmons was shot and killed. Police say the shootings were unrelated. Holloway said Simmons, who was not the intended target, was holding her 1-year-old daughter at the time of the shooting. So this young mother is standing on the side of the road. All right. She's holding her daughter, and dudes or maybe another female, who knows, rolls up on her and shoots her, opens fire, starts spraying her with a child in her hand. And her 2-year-old daughter was in the backseat. Okay, they weren't standing on the side of the road. From what I saw today in the news clip, the reporter was standing on the side of the road, but so she was in the car. Nonetheless, she has her kids with her, and they spray her anyways. So Simmons was in the passenger seat of a car stopped at the intersection of 18th Avenue South and 22nd Street South. So, correction, she's sitting in her car with her children, and people just come up and spray the car. And the Democratic Party wants to talk about white people nonstop, racism Nonstop. What about black on black crime? Nonstop in St. Petersburg. Like the chief said, all right, Chief Holloway, 12 homicides this year, and we're not even out of March yet. They're all black. The people who killed them, all black. Holloway said the man who was driving took the two children after Simmons was shot, left the scene, and brought them to a family member's house. Detectives want to speak with him and anyone else who may have information about who shot Simmons. Kraisman and Holloway said they're working on new initiatives to help stop gun violence. Now, can we just keep it real right here? Can we just keep it real? You know, like this is great, and this is obviously what you want people to do, is initiatives to stop gun violence. But you know what the real initiative is? Restore the home, restore the family dynamic, restore a father and a mother raising their children, restore a man showing his son that guns are not for violence. Restore that. What about those initiatives? Restore a high esteem of being married and staying married and having kids in wedlock. We want to always say it the other way around. How about we esteem having kids in wedlock? Because I'm willing to bet you that all of these suspects that pulled these triggers and killed these African American citizens, killed these black citizens in St. Petersburg, Florida, I'm willing to bet out of the 12 that all of them were born out of wedlock, born without a father who showed them what they should be doing, how to process their anger, all of these things. So thank you for the initiatives, but at the end of the day, this is a cultural, personal problem. When the young boys and young men start shooting off, it's because men and families in their lives failed them. So you want a new initiative? Focus on the family, and then you will see gun violence be completely tapered off, because these are just a bunch of blind people walking, and all they know is irrational violence when they lose control. Council member Lisa Wheeler Bowman joined them Wednesday in calling for the end of violence. No one should have to lose their loved one to senseless gun violence, but no one wants to stand up and do the right thing, and I'm sick of it, said Wheeler Bowman. All right, anyone with information about Simmons' case is asked to contact Crime Stoppers. A $5,000 reward. So as you guys could see, I wanted to start off with this story because it is a crying shame that this young 21-year-old black woman was shot and killed while her children were in her presence. And she was shot and killed by another black man. And the whole narratives of the day is, oh, we blame white people for everything. But how about this? It's time we take self-responsibility for our communities and for ourselves. It's almost as if we're in an age where we're saying goodbye to self-responsibility. It is always somebody else's fault. So with all that said, Kamaya Simmons, we should keep her family in our prayers. And this is overall a sad dealing. And like I said, this is close to home because it is in the Tampa Bay area. So overall, this is a sad story, but I want to really contrast this, like I said, with the whole false narrative of whiteness being the root of all evil. So take what you will with that. At the end of the day, this is a sad story, and our hearts should be broken either way. Hello, Whispering Wind. Believe it or not, I went to a predominantly black school. Black chicks. I don't want to say that. They fight. Wowzer. And that's not a racist statement. No, I mean, hey, what you're saying is what you saw. So it's not racist to merely repeat what you saw. So I went to it, like, this is what you're saying. I went to a black school and the black girls fought a lot, you know, like it was crazy. Yes, it's okay to say what you saw. That's exactly what the Georgetown professor was doing when she got fired for saying, "Oh, it gives me angst." And my students, the people that my students that are at the bottom every year, just so happen to be black. She's sharing her experience. So, no, it's not racist. It's just, hey, these are the things we're witnessing. These are the people we're seeing it from. It is what it is. Like, yes, Denzel Washington said it right. Where's the fathers? And another thing he said was, we want to talk about the system. How about we teach our kids how to act before the system gets them? Because believe it or not, if you don't teach your kids, somebody else will teach your kids. If you don't establish boundaries, the state and the system will establish boundaries. If you don't teach your kids how to walk in a respectable manner, then they are going to be pummeled by life. So yes, Denzel Washington has unpopular opinions because, one, he's a rich black man telling other black people, tighten the hell up. Like, how about we take care of ourselves first and foremost before we start pointing the finger? We're not saying that there is no way injustice can happen, but what we are saying is, first and foremost, handle your freaking house first. If your house is out of order, don't complain about this BS. People are oppressing me when you can't even get your house in order. You can't get your kids to go to bed on time. You can't get your kids to come home off the street. You can't trust your kids to walk to school without skipping 272 days out the year, like the Baltimore City mom who sent her kid to the school thinking he was going to school, but he was late or skipping every other day. No, handle your home first. Handle your home first. If your home is in order and then things start going a little wrong, maybe then we'll listen to, hey, maybe somebody is exploiting you. Maybe somebody is causing you some injustice. But if your freaking life is out of order, shut up about being treated injusticely, because the majority of the time it's self-inflicted wounds. And that is my take on a lot of the things that I see in America today. It's a lot of self-inflicted wounds. And then what do? When you shoot yourself in the foot, you blame your brother. It was my brother. It was his fault. I shot myself in the foot, but it was his fault. Yeah, I crashed my car, but it was their fault. I did this, but it was their fault. I failed that class, but it was the teacher's fault. All this stuff that people want to just throw excuses on, and I don't like excuses. That's something that, if you haven't figured out now by my channel, I don't like excuses. Shut up and go achieve what you need to go achieve. Okay? Shut up and go do it. Go be successful. Go be a person who overcomes. Go from poverty and go to middle class, and then go from middle class and go to high class. Go to high class and go to rich. I say I had because I recently lost a few black friends who would talk about the oppression that they would feel in their lives. And I would look at them and say, guys, I know you. You literally grew up with nothing. You grew up poor as hell. Poor. Like, no dad, living off the government. And this is nothing of their fault, but this was the reality. They were piss poor. And then they went from being piss poor, graduated college, got married, and then they were able to take a step up the ladder. And then they got their feet wet, and now we're all sitting around 30 years old. So we're leaving that infancy stage of being an adult, and now all of us are making more money than we were making 5 years ago. So it's like, shut up about being oppressed. Like, it's about working hard and making good choices over and over and over and over. Sports taught me something very true, and that's and life in general. You can make 20 good choices in a row and one really bad choice and completely negate all the good choices that you made. What that tells me is this: it is much easier to fail than it is to succeed. Succeeding is hard. And that's what leftists don't understand. They think it should just come naturally. We should all just get what we deserve. But no, you need to put in blood, sweat, and tears and have a lot of days of focus to be able to prosper. So, yes, Whispering Wind, Denzel Washington, he said it for a reason, because he knew what the heck he was talking about. White Dove, hello, hello. Agree. Yes, you have to work hard. Yep, I mean, everybody here understands that. And it's and all of a sudden working hard became a phrase of white supremacy. But at the end of the day, you can't change that. In the Bible it says you reap what you sow. If you do not work, you're not going to eat. That means you have to do something with your life. You have to have a greater vision for your life than somebody else has for your life, or you have to be willing to put yourself around people that can give you ideas to pursue. So all of that stuff works together. I am the type of person who, if things go wrong, I would look at myself first and foremost before I start looking at the system. And I honestly think that if social justice warriors, the social justice movement, far leftists, and other Democrats looked at their self first, they would be hit with the reality that, hey, it's really not the institution's fault. Uh, it's my fault. So um, that's my that's my rant with that one. It's just so frustrating every time we get to this point in our culture, and everybody wants to blame everybody else. Nobody wants to take responsibility. Nobody wants to say, yeah, I screwed up. My bad. I did that wrong. Everybody wants to say, oh, him, her, you, them, didn't use the right pronouns. You you didn't use the right pronouns. It's your fault. Hate speech. All this nonsense. Yes, White Dove says it. Learn to rise above. Learn. One, you got to learn. You got to want to learn. And then secondly, you got to rise above. So I want to bring you guys to this next story. All right. This next story is very funny, and also disgusting, because AOC is she's it, oh gosh, I don't even know how to say this. AOC is the worst politician in the US government. She is the epitome of anybody could be in government. I could be in government. You could be in government. My son could be in government. And he's not even 10 years old. So, with all of that said, AOC is the worst politician in America. She's probably along the lines of the worst nonviolent politicians that have ever lived in the world. But AOC says, looking at the New York Post article, new AOC says calling border crisis a surge pushes white supremacy. Now, I wish that this was a joke. I honestly wish this was a joke, because for her to make that claim, it just highlights the idiocy that these people have, and the obsession they have with race. They have an obsession with race that they would be willing to interject race whenever they can. Oh, this happened, race. That happened, more race. Oh, a surge, let's blame it on race. So all of these things are happening, and it's like we're calling it what it is. And the least intellectual politician of them all has the audacity to say, oh, don't say surge, don't say the correct term, that's being racist. This is the same woman who went blah wah 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 when Trump was in office, and oh, he's putting those kids in cages, this is terrible. This is an absolute this is a disgusting thing for our Constitution. But now fast forward, and Joe Biden is in office. Even Nancy Pelosi said, oh, this is a humanitarian issue. No, woman, this is a crisis, because now it was already a bad situation. I said that in a few episodes before, where I said no matter who the president is, the border is going to be a mess, because it's been a mess, and it's always going to be a mess, because when you have hundreds of thousands of people coming from all these South American countries to the United States of America, how is that not going to pose a problem that will pose a problem to every single president? But to President Trump's credit, the reason why I supported him was because his rhetoric alone let people know, don't come here illegally. And that strong tone in and of itself really deterred people. But now we want to see the complete opposite. Instead of no, don't come, it's, oh, we're here, diversity, we love you. Yes. All right, path to citizenship, all this. Who cares if you cross the Rio Grande River illegally? Go ahead and hide out in a sanctuary city, wait a couple months, and we'll figure it out. And that is, anybody with the brain knows that that has been the pitch by the Democratic Party. Come. They're all like little Statue of Liberties. This is our beacon moment. Let's all be courageous. Let's all just stand up for freedom. And let's love the sojourner. Yes, I agree we should love the sojourner, but we should also expect the sojourner to come to the country legally without putting their kids in danger, without jumping over walls, without having to run through countries and avoid cartels, without having their kids at risk of being sexually trafficked. All of these things are problems when you have mass amounts of people immigrating from South America to North America. So yes, it sounds good. Open the borders, let all the people in. I mean, look at me. I am a young Hispanic male. All right. It is by virtue of God's providence that my parents are from Puerto Rico and not Ecuador or Brazil. I mean, it is sheer. It is what it is, because I could have easily been in their position. My mom was adopted by an El Salvadorian family. I mean, we could have my story could have easily been theirs, and I could have been one of those little brown-skinned boys on the picture trying to get to America. So I understand the heart tug, and I understand the thing about wanting to do what's right. I grew up in like an 80% Hispanic part of town, so I get it. But what I also get is we can't fix this problem. We just have to make sure it doesn't turn into turmoil, which is what it is turning into. So, reading from the article, Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez has finally addressed the border crisis, but only to accuse anyone using the term surge of pushing a white supremacist philosophy. Ocasio-Cortez has repeatedly been accused of ducking and dangerously overcrowded migrant detention centers, despite saying they were akin to concentration camps under the previous administration. So we remember this very clear when Donald Trump was in office. Concentration camp. Everybody wants to use the NAZ word. All right. Everybody wanted to use that word when Donald Trump was in office. But now when nice Joe, cool Joe is there, it's not a concentration camp. Listen, don't say surge. Don't you dare say surge. Don't you dare say surge, because if you use the word surge, that almost sounds like a racist slur. Do not do that. But that is what this woman is doing. She initially appeared outraged when asked during an Instagram live, Ask Me Anything session, why she was not addressing the border crisis and kids in cages like you used to. After a pause, are you for real? It's not a border crisis. It's an imperialism crisis. It's a climate crisis. It's a trade crisis. And also, it's a carceral crisis. I don't know what that is. Somebody dropped that in the comment section below. What the heck does that mean? I'm not even going to lie to you. She said, without directly addressing the kids in cages allegation. Are you serious? This is your response? This is the exact response The Root gave about the shooting in Atlanta. Whiteness is a pandemic. Whiteness is a pandemic. No, it's not whiteness that pulled the trigger. AOC, why aren't you talking about the border like you used to? Are you serious? This has nothing to do with, this isn't a crisis. This is imperialism. So according to AOC, wanting to secure your border is imperialism. Okay, got it. It's a climate crisis. They're obviously leaving South America because they're closer to the equator than we are, and they're freaking hot, so they got to come up here. It's obviously about the crisis. It's a trade crisis, even though Donald Trump pulled off a great deal with Canada and Mexico, but let's just forget that. It's all a crisis. She lives in crisis mode. I would hate to be this woman for a day. Like, imagine waking up as AOC. You wake up and you believe the conspiracy theory of systemic racism is real. That haunts you. Then you think, you're an extreme feminist, so you think that the world is against you in that regard. That haunts you. And then you look at climate. When you go out to the beach or you go out for a walk and you feel a little bit of sunburn. All right, get my spray because it's the crisis. Everything is a crisis to this woman. Everything is a crisis. She's the same one who said, "Oh, they're not looting." I'm paraphrasing, obviously. They're not looting. They're just getting bread because they can't afford it because of imperialism. They can't afford the bread. That's why they have to break into those stores. So don't you dare say they're surging, and don't you dare say that's a loot. They're looting. They're not looting. They're just getting free bread. Thank you. This woman, this woman shows me that I could be in Congress. I mean, if she could do it, I could do it. I could do this when I was 21 years old and I was an idiot. So then she moves on to say, but people don't want to have that conversation. They want to say, but what about the surge? AOC said. And really, this is a lie. People do want to have the conversation. All right. On both sides of the aisle, people want to have the conversation. It's not like, the Democrats only want to have the conversation. Nobody else wants to listen. People are talking about this. What should we do? How do we remedy the problem? Obviously, the answer is not letting everybody in. Okay. And obviously, the answer is not closing everybody out. So somewhere between those two answers, there has to be an answer. And this is a discussion that has been going on. So AOC, again, just be quiet when it comes to, oh, nobody wants to talk about this. And then, pictures are worth 1,000 words. So, we have a migrant family arriving in the U.S., crossing the Rio Grande River in a raft piloted by smugglers on March 30th, 2021 in Roma, Texas. And then we have a picture of a young child's shoe. AOC went on to say, and that's a problem, referring to nobody wanting to talk about it. And that's a problem because this is not a surge. These are children. They are not insurgents, and we are not to be and we are not to be and we are not being invaded. No, they are surging in. Okay, they are surging in. There's a group of people coming through a destination to going through a portal to a destination. That's called an insurgence. But of course, in typical democratic fashion, they want to change the language. We should rethink, reimagine what the word insurgents means. She goes on to say, which, by the way, is a white supremacist philosophy. The idea that if another is coming in the population, that is an invasion of who we are. No, this is not like, so in Florida, we have an invasion of pythons. Pythons are not supposed to be in the Everglades. Pythons are destroying some of the natural habitats of Florida because they're not supposed to be here. She's talking about this issue as if we're talking about an animal that shouldn't be there. This is not what we're saying. We're not saying that these people are invaders and you know what, they're destroying. No, what we're saying is they need to come here the right way. All right, there's a right way and a wrong way to get here. And unfortunately, if you want to do it the right way, then you have to get in line. And it's just that simple. All right, so I wanted to play the video so you guys could see it. I don't even think we have to play it because you guys get the idea. You've probably already seen it. So last thing, if you do not want to zero in on the conditions of this moment, she said, adding only a vague explanation of it reflecting problems with the U.S. Carceral system. Oh, okay, I get it now. That Black and abolitionist organizations have already been talking about for a long time. So as you guys see, guys, AOC, she just looks insane right here. Like she looks like she's paranoid. She looks like a paranoid young woman that everything about America paranoids her. Even though Donald Trump is gone, she's still scared. And it doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense. All right, so looking at some of the comments, Honest Annie says one day she will wake up and think she's having a gender crisis. That's a good one. I'm no longer Alexandria. I'm Alexander. Okay. Don't be a bigot. Accept me. Okay, Alexandria, Alex, whatever. Can we just call you Alex? Okay. Yeah. I mean, she's honestly, it's like she's having a quarter life crisis, but because she's in the arena of politics, it's just overwhelming her. Whispering Wind says they do that intentionally. It's not 2 to 10-year-olds coming, it's 15 and 19-year-olds. Yep, more able-bodied kids get across faster, don't need to be attached to parents. I mean, hey, if I'm trying to smuggle kids over, I want to smuggle over 15 and 19-year-olds because I don't got to worry about you. You got feet of your own. I can't imagine how AOC ever got into office. She was caught in a huge lie regarding 1/6. Duh. Oh, they tried to kill me. Oh, I was there. I was there. I mean, I was down the street, but I was there. Yeah, AOC, you got caught in a lie. So, just shut up with all that stuff. Keith City, Panama. Hello, hello. Whispering Wind says, even though she grew up well off in America, yeah. And now she's established in America and she has a great job, great salary, but still, you know what? Racism is oppressing her. And then White Dove says, has anyone stopped to wonder why B or H will not go to the cages to see the living conditions of these kids? Why did a grad school minded person to go? Oh, why did a grade school minded person to go? So at the end of the day, we already know that these people don't want to go because, and by B and H, I'm assuming you mean Biden. Oh, Biden and Harris. I got you. So they obviously don't want to go because they're caught in the lie. They are caught in what they were claiming against Donald Trump. And they know that what happened with Donald Trump and his handling of the border is nowhere near as bad as what they got going on. They have some of the capacities I've read that are like over 1,000% full. So that means people are crammed on top of each other in these facilities. If Donald Trump was the president of the United States right now, oh my goodness, it would be a revolt. All right. CNN would become another state. CNN, MSNBC would become another state of activists, and they would go revolt and go knock over the border. They would run all of their vehicles into the border wall, and they would go crazy if this was Donald Trump in the White House. But at the end of the day, because the scary thing about politics is it's so easy to be on a team that what happens is when your team's winning, you tout that. When your team's losing, you sweep it under the rug. When your team is making bad plays, you divert it. It wasn't the play call. It was that, because that's the pitfall, honestly, of tribalistic politics. Is there's such a brainwashing that you can't really say the wrong things about your party, which I don't know why. I mean, I think about Donald Trump. Donald Trump, to me, didn't do everything right. I think he made a huge mistake by closing down the economy. I think he made a huge mistake by 15 days to flatten the curve. He made a huge mistake at letting Fauci rise up to power. Like, these are things that I could honestly say, I look back and say, okay, Donald Trump didn't do good here, here, and here. But that doesn't change my support of him. If he was running, I would still vote for him. But at the end of the day, it's like some of these people can't even critique their own side because they're so wrapped up in tribalism. And unfortunately, that's why Biden and Harris will not go to, or have not already gone to the border, because they know that it will expose their own tribalism. They are caught up in such a worse humanitarian disaster than Donald Trump ever put us through, that it's embarrassing that it's happening on their watch. And to be fair, if they were to just come out in the beginning and say, look, this is a screwed up situation. This is just is what it is. If they would have just kept that over the years, like the reality of the situation, I would have no problem with it. Because anybody with sense knows this is a losing situation when you have an influx of immigrants and people trying to come through one destination. All right, that you would fail, I would fail, a lot of people would fail at making everybody happy. So at the end of the day, just be real. All right. Just be real. This is a terrible situation. And um, what we don't want is any more people to come. And we definitely don't want people to come illegally. That should be the overarching message. Because as you see now, since it's not, now people are just coming, and immigrants have said over and over and over, oh, yeah, we're coming because Biden. Yeah, we're coming here because, Biden has basically let us know it's cool. He's got us. He's got us. So I see you guys could probably see my camera quality. I finally got a new HDMI card. The other one was crap and it burnt out after like 3 live streams. So now I'm able to get my 1080p back. I'm in the garage, so I got a little sweat game going on, but it's all good because we're sitting here having a good time during this live. Thank you to everybody who's joining. Make sure you drop a comment down below. If you like the content, if you like some of my other content, if you enjoy watching my videos, make sure you join the journey to 1K subs. Like, comment, and share my videos. Remember, I am on Patreon, also PayPal and Cash App for those who want to think about donating what is on their hearts. But with that out the way, guys, I wanted to jump into this next story. If I don't see any new comments, let's look at some of these comments. White Dove says, oh no, we already answered that. Honest Annie says, she may be pretty on the outside, but she has an ugly heart, unfortunately. And I don't even know if it's an ugly heart, to be honest. I think she might even have a decent heart. I think she's just an idiot. Like, I think that she lives in La La Land. Like, oh, let's try to accomplish things that sound good. Like, she's a child. You know how children they want to eat a certain thing a lot. The classic example is ice cream. So in my son's La La Land, ice cream all day is a great idea. So if it's a great idea and it tastes good and it feels good in the moment, why would we not do it all the time? But then, us who are mature and know the whole picture and know that our bodies aren't just made for ice cream, we come up next to that immature child and say, ice cream is good, but it's only good in its place. It sounds like a good idea eating it all day, but it's really not. And you need to listen to me. And here's some reasons why. But ultimately, you need to trust me. It's a bad idea. AOC is like a child where she gets fixated on all these good sounding ideas. Socialism for everyone. Healthcare for everyone. Let's take care of everyone. Let's let all the immigrants in. Let's do universal basic income for everybody. It doesn't care if you don't work. It doesn't matter if you don't work. So she has all these young-minded ideas, all of these ideas that sound good to someone who, at the end of the day, they might. I don't want to speculate on her motives, so I'm going to assume that she's trying to do what's best. But at the end of the day, if you're trying to do what's best, but you still crash the car, okay, you failed. So I think she's a failure. She is a failure, and she walks around being paranoid as heck. And like I said earlier, imagine being AOC. You wake up in the morning and you're paranoid of systemic racism. You wake up in the morning and the conspiracy theory of whiteness is just engulfing you. Oh, I'm a brown person in this white world. Woe me. Oh my goodness. And then you go to work and you say, oh, I'm a feminist, so these men have higher jobs than me. Oh, and it's just self-loathing all day. I mean, it must suck to be in her shoes. Like, how do you live life? How do you live life and only focus on the perceived negatives? How do you live life and blame everybody else for other people's problems? I mean, ultimately, it's just not a good look. I just can't get down with it because it's so it's such a victim mentality that she walks around with. And then when you throw on top of the idiocy of her policy, no, we shouldn't be socialists. Yes, you need to work for what you get. Okay, let's keep social security. All right, you know what? Pensions. But apart from that, we shouldn't be bankrolling everybody. But that's the agenda of the woke left and some extreme and other extremists that just want to think they're doing something good by actually destroying the country's economy. Honest Annie says you need to run for office, please. I would like to, but at this point in my life, I want to be a father to my children first, because what I like I've preached on and I've said, a lot of the problems that we see with young men today is because of an absence of their father. So I first and foremost want to raise my kids, establish my kids, make sure that I have energy and mental energy going towards them. So I know that a political office would suck that away. And like Ted Cruz, obviously I wouldn't be at his stature, but somebody like Ted Cruz can't even go to Cancun for 2 days. All right, even when it's cold. So now, right now, I know, and my wife, if I walked to my wife and said, "Baby, I think I need to run for office here in Florida," she would slap me and be like, "What are you talking about? We have a family to raise. Let's at least raise our family first and then run for office." All right, White Dove says those kids with no claimable parents are too easy to disappear and end up in human trafficking. I mean, that's obvious. All right, that is a human trafficker's dream right there, is to intercept a family trying to go from a terrible country to our country where they could just slip through the cracks and be exploited. The left is trying to make Texas a blue state. It would be all over for the Republicans. Yes. Um, Perfect word for her. Yes, she's a child. I kind of disagree. She pushes racism against whites intentionally. That's ugly, not stupid. I agree with you. The only reason why I said that is because I really think that the people who push critical race theory, not all of them, some of them are disgusting. Like, to me, Ibram X Kendi fits that intentional racism against white people, that I could say, okay, you're a sick, twisted person who's taking advantage of people's ignorance, and you're trying to create a curriculum that shows people how to be racist against white people. That is what critical race theory teaches. So some of them, I would say, no, that they're teaching racism. Some of them think that diversity and equality is accomplished through critical race theory. So it's hard for me to differentiate between, it's really just opinion at the end of the day. Like, I think Ibram X Kendi is scum and he's a liar and a race pimp. All right. I think AOC is just an idiot and she thinks she's doing what's good, but ultimately she's not. But, it's your call. You could put them in whatever category you want. It's not like what I'm saying is definite, but the definite part is this: critical race theory teaches racism, and anybody who spouses it off is practicing prejudice. So, um, Honest Annie says her ideas are unhealthy and divisive and damaging. Amen and amen. Ultimately, she's a terrible politician. She's a terrible politician. And people, the saying has been said, the pathway to hell has been paved by good intentions. So yeah, who cares if your intentions are good? Like, or you think your intentions are good. If the end game is bad, it is bad. If the end game ends up with a bankrupt America and a whole bunch of immigrants coming over to America and being undocumented, and we just losing sense of our values of freedom of speech, the Second Amendment, if these things start getting eroded, then yes, then we are losing overall, and what we believe in as a country is getting eroded. But of course, I just sounded like a white supremacist there. So, let me pause, because my brown skin warrants the accusation of white supremacists. Um, Last comment I'll read, and then I'll push into the next story. Honest Annie says, I get the father thing. Good for you. Your kids are young. You can in the meantime involve them in matches or peaceful protests and then bring them for ice cream afterwards. I like that idea. Raise them to be conservative political activists early, or not even activists. Teach them how to think like a conservative without even telling them that they're being taught conservative values. Self-responsibility, boy. Yes, that's a conservative value. Oh, the reason why I'm staying with your mother is because it's a biblical and conservative principle. All right. The reason why we have rules in this house and we don't just reimagine and rethink everything is because of conservative values. I understand there is a limit. We can't just reimagine and rethink everything. That is what the left wants to do so bad, is their key word. And I've said this over and over and over. And to me, it's a buzzword. So maybe it might become this to you, but when I hear the word reimagine or rethink, I immediately tune out to what they're saying as far as being persuaded by what they're talking about. Now, I'm going to listen to what they have to say, but I know ultimately once you start saying these words of rethink, reimagine, now you're coming from a social justice, critical race theory, woke propaganda position, and I do not want to accept that. And my kids love ice cream, so I gave them ice cream today after dinner. We do a little bribery system. If you eat your corn, we make corn on the cob. If you eat some of your corn, then you can have ice cream. So thankfully, both of my boys were able to eat the corn. And then we all enjoyed some chocolate and vanilla ice cream together before I put them to bed. Second to last topic I wanted to talk about tonight. I just want to give you guys an update on the Chauvin trial. So today, full disclosure, today I was trying to listen to what was going on with the testimonies, but things got busy at work, so I wasn't able to give that much time to it. But from everything that I listened to, I'm just gonna share a couple takeaways that I noticed, and one of them being this idea that Democrats are pushing and liberal establishment media is pushing, where they're trying to focus on policing. Obviously, policing is the problem. It has nothing to do with meth, fentanyl, resisting police, counterfeit money, resisting police. It has nothing to do with that. It has to do with policing. So this next segment is really going to focus on just that narrative that they're building up, which ultimately, in my opinion, is propaganda, and it's going to lead people to go riot and burn stuff down when Derek Chauvin is found innocent of murder. Now, he might, I wouldn't be surprised if he was caught up on manslaughter, but I even think that he's going to get acquitted of. But nonetheless, take a listen to this segment, because they're going to focus on the problem being the police arresting people over, it's just a misdemeanor. All he did was pass money. Like, he passed money and then he died. It's the police's fault. No, he didn't die because of a misdemeanor. He died for a number of different reasons, which we've already talked about. So let's listen to this lady's take on policing and their focus on misdemeanors.
It was a minor offense, a misdemeanor. And I really, to me, that really stood out in the opening statement, because it just showed, two things. One is we make people, obviously, Mr. Floyd, but many other people, less safe when we use this extreme law enforcement approach to misdemeanors. Approaching George Floyd in a car, pulling guns out, dragging him out, kneeling on him, and killing him is an extreme response.
So right there, I got to stop that part, because that's the propaganda I'm talking about. And this is going to be coming out, and we're going to know the full story. But day one's opening statements explicitly said, the defense team said that George Floyd popped 2 speedballs before the cops came. All right. And then his friends were in the car and they were getting ready to arrange other ways to get home because George Floyd was passing out in the car, and he was high as a kite in the car. All right, this is what was said on day one. Now, what else was said was George Floyd was like in and out of, like he was in and out of it. So when the police came and the police directed him, put your hands where I could see them, he didn't. Then that's when they drew their gun. So it wasn't like they just drew their gun without giving any direction. From what I understand, the cops were telling George Floyd, show me your hands. He did not show his hands. And then that's when the officers pulled out the gun. So this whole clip of, oh, this is an extreme way to treat people. You walk up to their car, point a gun at their face. Oh, this is an extreme way to treat people. All he did was commit a misdemeanor and now he's dead. No, that's a terrible, that is a terrible way to frame the story, because so many things happened before he died. To say that the issue was a misdemeanor, no, that's not what happened here. That is not what happened. Let's listen to the rest of her logic before we move on.
To an allegation of a low level offense. It's also a response that affects people differently. So Black people and white people are policed differently in this country. That's firmly established. And I think it's really important to point out that this mass misdemeanor problem is a problem that falls much more heavily on communities of color than it does.
Yeah. So anyways, she's walking around with this false assumption that white people and Black people are policed differently. No, they're not. That is media propaganda. If that was true, then explain to me, explain to us, explain to thou, why are white people shot and killed more by the police than Black people? If the treating of the two races is so different, then why don't we see less white people getting shot and killed? Well, it's hard to explain that one away. But at the end of the day, what they're pushing is lies on their platforms. So no, it's not a fundamental fact that white people and Black people are policed differently. No, the fact is when you're in an area where a certain demographic commits most of the crime, then guess what the police officers are going to be looking out for? That demographic doing that crime. I practiced this during the Boulder, Colorado incident when the mass shooter story broke. And the first thing I did was I looked at the demographic, because I was trying to guess, okay, what is the race of the person? We don't have any details. I don't know. I looked up the demographic of Boulder, Colorado. Boulder, Colorado is 90% white. Therefore, I have, I guess, a 90% chance of saying accurately that it was a white person that shot up the store. That's what I said on my YouTube channel. Ding, ding, ding. I was wrong. But anyways, that's what people do to try to make sense of the world around them. If you're in an area where 80% of the crimes are happening by Hispanic people, then you know what? Maybe we should be paying attention more to some Hispanics, because they seem to be doing the carjacking. Yeah. Okay. So, and that's not racist. That is common sense. And that is people being aware of the areas that they're in. Okay. So at the end of the day, they are just pushing propaganda openly. I wanna bring your attention before we move on to the last story, just a refresher so that you guys are walking in the know as well as me, that the charges on the table for Derek Chauvin, we covered this recently, but what are the charges against Derek Chauvin? Now, we read all this, so I'm going to skip some of it, but so we got second-degree unintentional murder. What the heck does that mean? All right, for a conviction of second-degree unintentional murder, the state prosecutors will have to show beyond a reasonable doubt that Chauvin caused Floyd's death. Now, this is why I'm thinking that Chauvin is going to get off on second. Well, not even I think. And I could be wrong, like I was with Boulder, Colorado, but 90% sure he's going to be not guilty on second degree, because there's so much doubt. There's so much reasonable doubt that opposes the narrative that Chauvin caused Floyd's death. I mean, you think about this stuff that's obviously going to be there to the end of to the world ends. These variables are going to be there. Meth, fentanyl, ODing, heart problems, resisting arrest. All those things. Okay, so if he was so yeah, so that's second degree murder. So that's what he's being charged on. Third degree murder. Initially Chauvin faced an additional charge of third degree murder, but Cahill dismissed it. All right. Third degree murder requires, so this is just the procedural stuff. They charged him with third degree murder, then they took it off, then they reinstated it. All right. So anyways, third degree murder requires prosecutors to prove that someone caused the death of another by perpetrating an act admittedly admittedly dangerous to others and evincing a depraved mind without regard to human life. That is another one that's going to be hard to prove. How can you prove he had a depraved mind? He was using a protocol that was taught to him in the Minneapolis Police Department. So to say kneeing somebody in the prone position is a depraved mind, well, that's what we were taught. So I was acting in protocol, not in depraved mind. Now you would have to prove depraved mind, which I don't think they're going to be able to do. But you know what? If he gets charged the other way, I will stand corrected. So ultimately, the intent is going to be hard to prove for those two murder charges. And then lastly, second degree manslaughter. In order to convict Chauvin of second degree manslaughter, prosecutors will need to show, again, beyond a reasonable doubt, that he was culpably negligent and took an unreasonable risk with Floyd's life when he restrained him, and his actions put Floyd at risk of death. All right. So prosecutors do not have to prove that Chauvin's actions intended to cause Floyd's death, only that his actions put Floyd at risk of death or great bodily harm. And that one sounds better, but at the end of the day, how is Chauvin supposed to know that George Floyd is high as a kite on opioids? How is he supposed to know that George Floyd has an extremely compromised heart? How is he supposed to know that? So, with all that said, if Chauvin walks out here not guilty, I'm not going to be surprised. I'm not going to be surprised. Yes, and he had COVID. Whispering Wind, dinner time, family time, guys. Much love. Yes, go ahead and enjoy your family time. Whispering Wind, God bless you. Make sure you have a great night. Moving on with the continued propaganda, all right, of the George Floyd case. Like we talked about, they want to make this about misdemeanors. This has nothing to do about misdemeanors, but here we go. NBC talking about George Floyd death started with an arrest for a misdemeanor. Petty crime needs a rethink. No, rethink is just another way of saying reimagine, rethink, reimagine. All right, reimagine, rethink. So they're using the buzzwords again, that once you see these things in the political sphere, red flags should go up right away. All right. It wasn't a petty crime. And he had an opportunity to right his wrong when the store clerks came out and said, "Hey, bro, you passed a fake bill. Give us our stuff back." Didn't want to do it. That was on testimony today. So it wasn't petty crime. I mean, unless you want to call passing a fake bill, resisting arrest, being high as a kite on opioids, if that's petty crime, then okay, it's petty crime. But long story short, we're not going to read the whole thing. We're not even going to read most of it. We're going to read only a little bit of this, like the first paragraph. You're going to see that they're trying to frame the story as if the problem is policing on misdemeanors, when that's not the issue. It's just simply not the issue. This week marks the beginning of the trial of Derek Chauvin, one of the 4 Minneapolis police officers accused in the involvement of the outrageous killing of George Floyd last year, after a grocery store clerk called the police over Floyd's suspected use of a counterfeit $20 bill. A series of police actions ended in Floyd's brutal death as Chauvin held his knee on Floyd's neck for more than 8 minutes, filmed on a phone. All right, so they're just trying to say that it's everybody else's fault. It's everybody else's fault except for the person who is guilty of the things that we have already established. So with that said, let's look at some of these comments. Yep, Honest Annie says riots are coming no matter the verdict. I agree. I mean, I think we all see that coming. I mean, think about it. There's an autonomous zone that we've been talking about. There's an autonomous zone already set up. So the autonomous zone is not there for kumbayas. The autonomous zone is at the right time. They're going to set it on fire. All right. Honest Annie says, did cops ask Floyd if he... Yes, they did ask. They explicitly said while he was on the corner. So after he got out of the car, they took George Floyd out of the car. They sat him on the corner. And as he's sitting there, he's speaking fast. He's in a delirium state. Like you could tell he's on something, but we don't know what. So a cop says, and you could listen to the video of them on the corner as they're bringing George Floyd to the cop car. But a cop asks, "What are you on?" And George Floyd says, "Nothing." But he was foaming out of his mouth. He was acting erratically, sporadically. So yes, the police officers did ask, "Are you on something?" And he lied. Because if he would have told the truth and said, "Look, I'm on this," maybe they could have called for help sooner. They could have called for a paramedic sooner, knowing that okay, he's having a really bad moment on these drugs, which is why he's acting weird and he can't complete a sentence and he's freaking out. At least he told us he's on fentanyl and meth. Let's try to be proactive, but he lied, so they didn't know. They had to figure out the hard way through an autopsy. What up, Uber? Wear that cash out sign in these live chats, dog. What's good, bro? Toast up. My man, Uber. So like I said before, right now, like you guys can, if you want to support the channel, you could hit me up on PayPal. The links are pretty much in a lot of my videos descriptions below, and also Cash App if you want to give like a one-time gift, which will definitely be used either for feeding the children that I have or buying new equipment. If you want to become a committed member, then Patreon, I guess, is where it's at. I'm still new to all this crap, guys. So from everything I understand, Patreon is like you build up a Patreon because that is your monthly supporters who are committing to supporting you over, an extended period of time, until they're ready to cancel you, I guess. So, wherever you're at in wanting to support the channel, I would appreciate that. So White Dove says responsibility, one word that needs to be taught from the time we are little. And that's the truth, because in our day and age, self-responsibility is like foreign. Self-responsibility might as well be a hieroglyphic ancient Egyptian word, because we do not care about self-responsibility. It is all about what you did to me. It is about what they did to us. It is about them, they, them, you, not me. It's not about me. It's about them. So yes, self-responsibility is something that needs to be esteemed and taught, because it's so easy to point the finger that people love to run with the easy thing. I don't know if you guys know this, but the first one to point the finger was Adam. And when he was in the garden with Eve and God told them, don't pick the forbidden fruit, told Adam straight up, don't do this. And then Eve comes, and then him and Eve, they're walking around having a good time in the garden, and they see the tree, and Adam knows what God told him, but he watches Eve pick it anyways, and they eat it together, and then their eyes are open, and then God comes and says, what happened? And what does Adam do? What does the man do? The man doesn't take responsibility. He says, the woman you gave me, It was the woman's fault. No, Adam, it was your fault because God told you and you let this happen. So self-responsibility has been a problem from the beginning of time. Go ahead and read Genesis, the Adam and Eve story, and you'll see that Adam didn't take responsibility. So of course we're going to have it in this day and age. It's going to look different because there's more than two people on the face of the earth. But at the end of the day, there's still a bunch of serpents out there. We talked about a few of them tonight. AOC, serpent, lies. But, with all that said, we have to just take responsibility because at the end of the day, the Democratic ideology is it's their fault, not mine. It's white supremacy, not black supremacy. How do we fix racism with more racism? So, yes, we have to teach self-responsibility. Uber says martial law with U.S. Marine infantry if these liberal streets and they won't. Yeah. So yes, I agree that there should be that martial law would be a great solution. But Joe Biden, what politician in power right now is gonna even call for that? No, that's evil fascism. Don't do that. Don't you dare try for law and order. Don't you dare do it. Don't you try law and order. That sounds racist. That sounds white supremacist. All right. Don't you dare try to make Minneapolis, Minnesota a city where people can enjoy their life. Don't do that. Let those left-wing extremists go ahead and set up a chop zone, set up an autonomous zone to go ahead and take everything that everybody has and kill people that have lived there their whole lives when they don't even live there. So yes, martial law would be a great stifle to these people, but that's not going to happen. Yeah. Last comment I'll read. Uber, remind yourselves, guys, that George Floyd. All right, I don't want to say that because I don't want to get canceled. But so I respect your opinion and I respect your take on it. But I want to offer because I've thought about this a lot, as you guys can see. I've thought about this a lot. Now, the whole question, real quick, side note, because the question always comes up. If you're in a religious circle or if you believe, in Christianity or other religious things, the question is, where do these people go? Is George Floyd in? Where did he go? And the reason why I don't want to determine that is because, one, I'm not God. And two, we have the story explicitly written out in the Bible of the 11th hour or the 12th hour. All right, the thief that was being crucified with Jesus. So literally Jesus was being crucified and right next to him was a thief. And this thief didn't know God, committed crimes his whole life, and he was getting what he deserved in the eyes of the people of the law in Jesus's day. And the thief was like, was on the cross, ready to get killed for being a crooked thief. And Jesus offered him salvation in that moment. So this man lived his whole life being a crooked thief. And then in the last second of his life, he embraced Jesus as Lord and Savior. And his sins were forgiven from that point forward. So, that story is real to me, which is why I would hesitate on concluding where people go, even though I have done it before. But I'm also open to being wrong and knowing that at the end of the day, none of us are God. So, yeah. All right. So with that said, this story, the last story of the night. All right, last story of the night. This is good, and I hope this is true. I hope that this professor is able to win if indeed he was wronged, because I am tired of professors being absolutely taken advantage of, because at the end of the day, in the college system, in the arena, in the realm of schooling, if you are a white professor, you are less than. You need to shut up and you need to do everything you need to do to be an anti-racist, and you need to stop being racism. You need to stop being racist and all this stuff. So if you look at the title, all right, this is brought to us by Newsweek. White professor claims college pays black colleagues much more than him. A twist in the plot. This brought to us by Ewan Palmer. So normally we say, oh, well, the white person's paid more. The white person's paid more. The white person's paid more. But we have a twist. All right, plot twist. Now a white professor is saying, I'm getting paid less than them. A white professor is suing the college where he works for discrimination, claiming some of his black colleagues make substantially more money than him despite having similar qualifications and experience. William T. Lavelle, 66, who teaches chemistry at Camden County College, filed the lawsuit on March 26, claiming racial bias over the discrepancies in pay between him and other members of staff. According to the suit seen by NJ.com, Lavelle says he is paid between $45,000 and $50,000 less annually than the two black engineering professors. Lavelle found out he is paid less after requesting the salary records under the state's public record law in September. So right there, we got something brewing. We don't know the whole story, but we do see a shift in the narrative, and we see what I like is we see a white professor at least pursuing the possibility that he is being treated unjustly, that he is being accounted for as less than because of his color. You know what this whole woke ideology does is it puts white people in this bubble, and it says, oh, they're privileged anyways. They grew up with a silver spoon anyways. They have all this power anyways. They experience all this privilege anyways. Therefore, let's pay some minority people more to level out the ground. But as soon as people start making those decisions, what they're then doing is practicing discrimination against that white person. Because the only reason why you want to pay minorities more in this case is because of discrimination. So it's good to see this officer trying to fight back. The suit names two of Lavelle's counterparts, Professors Melvin Roberts and Lawrence Chapman, as being paid $137,157 and $142,606, respectively, as proof of racial bias, as Lavelle is only paid a whopping $91,923 in comparison. We'll talk about disparities. Preach on disparities. What do you mean? How is it possible that this white professor who's 66 years old gets paid $91,000 and these other two black professors get paid above $130,000? How is discrimination not there? Now imagine if we just ran with the leftist narrative of disparity equals discrimination. I mean, we would have a field day with this, but I don't really care about people trying to make the claim that, oh, it's discrimination, but you need to be able to prove it and actually have substantial evidence like he has. You know how many people I've talked to who have said, well, I get paid less than my white counterpart. What's your proof? I read it in a newspaper. Oh, so you don't know the payroll. You don't know your company's payroll. You're just mimicking what you heard out in the public space that black people get paid less than white people. Oh, okay. So you have no evidence to make that claim. At least this professor made the claim, and then he went and found evidence. As a matter of fact, I make $91,000 and these two people make $137,000 and $142,000. Why am I getting paid less? I think it has to do with discrimination. Therefore, I'm going to file a lawsuit. All right. So, this is to me, this is like when white professors fight back. This is what we see. Nah, bro, I'm not getting paid less than. You might think I came from a silver spoon background, but I didn't. I worked hard and I got here, and I need to get paid my money that I deserve. All three professors have similar tenure qualifications and experience, but Lavelle has more professional degrees in his field of concentration than the others, according to the suit. In November, Lavelle complained to the college officials, including President Borden and one of the college's vice presidents, Kathleen Kane, about the discrepancy. Lavelle said the complaint contained a comparative analysis of the racial disparities in the compensation between himself and similarly situated non-Caucasian counterparts. According to the lawsuit, Kane rejected his request for a salary increase and failed and refused to investigate or address plaintiff's Lavelle's complaint of race discrimination. The suit suggests claims racial bias is the reason for pay disparity, but does not cite other examples of discrimination. According to the Camden County College website, Chapman has been at the school for 30 years, with Roberts teaching there for 31 years. Lavelle taught at Camden County College for more than 25 years. Lavelle signaled he is seeking an amount greater than $150,000 in damages, including damages from loss of earnings and for mental anguish, distress, and loss of self-esteem. Lavelle has also served in various other roles at the college, including department chair and interim dean for the Division of Mathematics, Science, and Health Careers. So as you guys see it, we not only have discrimination, we not only have discrimination being touted from Black people to white people. Now we have a professor who's willing to say, why am I getting paid less? What is it about me? Why am I $50,000 less valuable than them? So I think overall, this is a good thing, because, you know, this is always flipped. It's always discrimination the other way. But you know what? I'm at a point now where if you think you're getting discriminated against, especially with the ideology of critical race theory in the atmosphere, you should definitely look into it, because that theory, as we've talked about, teaches prejudice and it teaches discrimination. So at this point, it's time to fight fire with fire. If I was a white person, I would have my guard up 100% to make sure to guard against being discriminated against, all because you perceive I'm walking around with some sort of privilege that I don't have. All right, so I'm gonna look at some comments, and then I'll go ahead and close. Thank you guys for being here. Appreciate the support. Appreciate the comments. Yes, Honest Annie says God can read our hearts. That is true. She also said Yale University was and maybe still is discriminating against white applicants. Yes, they are. My man Uber. Yes, crack kills. Crackhead fine with demons. Yes. Yeah, I mean, he definitely was fighting with demons. That's 100% sure. Floyd was fighting demons, and ultimately, he was not able to prevail. All right, Kailani K. AOC is out to become senator and then president. Oh, please don't say that. I really hope you're wrong. If she was ever president, God help us. She pretends to care. Her recent volunteer / fundraiser in Texas, but she is only looking for photo op opportunity to further her agenda. Uber says, "Hey yo, everyone, do a dance move every day and vibe out." Yes, yes, and I appreciate that. Good vibes and good thoughts are two weapons we can have for us to just walk through the crazy life that we're in. All right. A good perspective overcomes a lot of turmoil. Honest Annie says women are still getting paid less than men, but it's slowly improving. Uber, I love to dance. She put a little bachata, a little salsa emoji. Have to go work tomorrow. Enjoyed this very much. Thank you, Honest Annie. God bless you. I hope you have a great night and a great day at work. Mañana. I will see you soon. I'm gonna leave that right there, guys. I really appreciate all of the support. Make sure you guys are sharing my content so we can get this channel up to 1,000K subs, and then from there we can focus on the next goal. But at the end of the day, Thank you guys for walking with me. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys for sharing the content. Make sure you guys continue to share the content. Continue to give me your feedback. I really appreciate everything. Like I always say, make sure you guys like, comment, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Thank you guys for all the support. I will see you good people on the next one. God bless. Peace.